It is Wednesday, September 20th, 2017. It is 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and so you know what time it is. It's time for a little bit of coin metal. And it was a very, very productive get your ass kicked at Jiu-Jitsu Wednesday. I didn't complete all of the sparring rounds that were available, but I did complete most of them, and that's what counts, is the actual showing up is the big challenge for me, actually, getting to it, getting over there, putting in the time. And, I have a lot of anxiety about jiu-jitsu, and I don't know why, really, because when I get on the mat, it's like that part just goes away. And really all I'm concerned with is my opponent or my partner, if we're just doing technique or something like that. But, for the most part, I kind of let all that other bullshit go. Because there's somebody that's trying to mount me, is trying to grab my arm, is trying to get my neck, and so I really don't have time to worry about anything else at that moment, and it's like a big old eraser, it's like, oh, what? You forgot to do the dishes before you left the house. No, that's not important right now. There's somebody trying to get around to your neck, it's like, oh shit, I forgot to put a load of laundry in before I got out of the house. No, that's not important, guys. I'm about to put you in an omoplata. It kind of reorients you with your whole prioritization of what's important, And I think that's really important for people to do. Just hit that reset button every once in a while, And I used to do it with cardio, at the gym. Actually, I used to do it with just visiting the gym. A lot of people like to use the gym as a social kind of event, say hi to all their gym buddies and stuff. I'm not there to say hi to you. I'm really sorry, but, I'm there to improve my body. I'm not there to fuck off. I'm not there to catch up on you and all the important stuff that you're involved in. No. I am here to do 45 minutes of cardio, and then another hour or so on weights, and then a half an hour, maybe 45 minutes on cardio, and then go home. Because that's what I'm here to do. Although I haven't been in a gym in a long time, but that's generally how I like to work out, is warm up, work out, warm down, go home. And so, yeah, today in jiu-jitsu, we were covering a lot of north-south stuff and transitions, because it seems like I have a lot of difficulty in transitions, and so it was a good day for me in particular, because we were working things that I really felt like I need to buff up on, and so like I said, it was a pretty productive day. I didn't spend too much time getting tapped out, which felt pretty good, and even in the open rounds, I wasn't getting dominated. We were doing a little bit of sparring from north south, and it was positional sparring, just like guard pass, keep pass guard, that kind of thing, but from the north south position, and I managed to avoid being mounted too much. I did get mounted a few times because, I'm still a white belt, but I managed to mount a brown belt today, which I thought was pretty cool. It doesn't happen very often, man. The only thing that happens even less than that is I get somebody in a submission. That's just like, pff, I saw a fucking unicorn the other day. I mean, it just... I don't know. I guess I don't really have my brain like 100% geared for it yet. I'm getting my hip position a little better though. And I've been a lot better about mounting from like if I'm on a side mount, I can usually I'm getting to where I can maintain a side mount pretty good and transition from that into a different mount. So, I'm making some progress. But unfortunately, this is not Jiu-Jitsu Chat. This is in fact Coin Metal, and so we will in fact be talking about coins today. I like to meander from my Jiu-Jitsu stuff first. Sorry, it's still fresh in my mind. But we will be we'll be talking. I guess there's some foreshadowing on possible changes to mining in China. And we want to go through that. And I got a few other things that I kind of like to talk about. But in the meantime, we are going to go ahead and get into our first dance. And I haven't picked anything out. It's kind of funny. Anyway, fuck it. Anthrax, end all, or be all, end all, here on Coin Metal. And that was Meshuggah, What's Within, or Inside What's Within. And I've been having some issues with the audio encoder, and so I've been trying to hammer that out, because apparently it causes it to like skip and jump around and shit when I'm on the just with music. Now I don't know if it's actually doing that on my voice, but it may be, so I don't know. I thought I might have hammered out all of my audio issues, and apparently everything seems to be fine now, but I don't know. We'll find out. Anyway, let's get back into some articles here. I do have plenty of good stuff, actually. I'd been looking about trying to find a few articles to digest today, and while doing so, I came across a few really good ones. I don't know if you guys were really listening to or watching what was going across your Twitter feed with regard to China and their issues with regard to trading, but it seems that the Chinese people, the Chinese traders at least, they decided that they were probably being monitored on WeChat, and so they went over to I think it was Telegram, and started doing live trades on Telegram instead of doing exchange trades, which I think is actually pretty smart. Anyway, I got this article here, and this is on nextshark.com. WeChat admits it gives all private user data to the Chinese government, and this one is by Ryan General. And I just want to do one thing really quick here. I want to tell a friend to keep tuning in so he can tell me whether I'm chewy as I had been. And just hold on one moment here. Let can hear me. Alright. Okay. And so let's get into this article here. WeChat users have been informed that their favorite messaging app is sharing pretty much all of their private data with the Chinese government. After downloading the app's latest patch, WeChat users were prompted to accept the updated privacy policy to be able to use the app, Epoch Times reported. And get back to the bottom here. In the new privacy statement, the company revealed that personal data, including the messages users type into the app, are surrendered to the Chinese regime in compliance with, quote, applicable laws or regulations in the country. Aside from your personal information and messages, the app stores users' private log data, such as information about what you have searched for and looked at while using WeChat, people you've communicated with, and the time, data, and duration of your communications. The company mainly uses such collected data to customize advertisements and direct marketing. However, the new privacy policy admitted that the company would, quote, retain, preserve, or disclose such data to, quote, comply with applicable laws or regulations. While such a development may be shocking to some people, other observers have noted that they somehow expected this to happen. WeChat has been criticized in the past for its almost non-existent privacy and security protections for its users. Critics believe that WeChat's success can be attributed to the company's close collaborations with the Chinese government, which explained the self-censorship and surveillance mechanisms implemented in the app. WeChat, which currently has over 662 million mobile users, is owned and developed by billion-dollar internet giant Tencent. And you know, I read something about Tencent, and I believe it was their what do you call it? Tencent, like their white paper or something. And their entire their entire philosophy with regard to business in general is that they don't believe in developing new stuff. They only believe in copying what other people do and trying to do it better than them. That's their entire market thing, their entire market philosophy. And so it's like these people. I thought about this a while, and in the longer term, what I think this does is it disincentivizes people to develop new things. I mean, because if after a while, you know, it's like, dude, Tencent's just going to come along and copy my shit and steal it from me. You know, why do I want to develop new things for them to come along, steal from me, and monetize behind my back? Fuck you. I'm not going to do that for you. So, you know, like I said, I think in the longer term, people are just going to migrate out of there. You know, all of the innovation will simply stop being in China or anywhere near it. You know, I think that as the global economy shifts, we're going to see not just a shift in manufacturing, but we're going to see also a shift in the innovation capitals. And I think that the United States, for the most part, might go back to being a source of innovation. It'll really depend on what comes next with regard to regulations. You know, I mean, there's been further encroachment with regard to certain laws, and we have covered it on this show. If you go and you look at my YouTube channel, I do have a couple pieces of legislation that I have done live readings of. I think the most important one for us is a federal piece of legislation. I think that was SB 1231 or something like that. Anyway, look it up on my YouTube channel. It basically makes everybody involved in cryptocurrencies like into a criminal. You know, I mean, if you are trying to transport cryptocurrencies or send them to somewhere else or something like that, they're all up on your business. They want to know everything. And I find it really funny, because if I really wanted you to not know how much money I have, if I really wanted to transport a shit ton of money, I would put it online. I'd put it online and you'd never even know it was there. Not unless you were like hacking my computer, like, and viewing my desktop as I was doing it. You're not even going to know that the transfer happened. You know, I'll move it to like my Telegram, one of the Telegram chat rooms that I'm in. that now in Verge, I'm pretty sure it's in Telegram that we have in Telegram wallets, or the capability to have a wallet. And so I think that's so awesome, because it allows us to do tips, and that was one of the cool things about the the IRC channels, was we were able to do things like rain, so like if you'd been talking for the previous 10 minutes and somebody types in, exclamation point rain and then an amount, it would split the amount between everybody who's been active for the last 10 minutes in the chat room. I thought that was so freaking neat, because it incentivized people to participate. And then we'd end up with these massive rains. And I mean, like, people were just throwing around hundreds and hundreds and thousands of Verge. And it was cool. It just, like I said, it kind of developed a community around the coin, to be able to do that with it. And so now that's being that capability is being transferred to Telegram. And we were seeing this migration when the Chinese first, the PBOC first decided that they were going to throw their crackdown. As the official exchanges started cashing out and started closing down, we were seeing this big migration from WeChat over into Telegram with these traders, and they're still trading. They're probably trading in broader bases than they could even trade in an exchange. They're probably going by their own exchange rates. That would be awesome. But the point being that it puts the spotlight on exactly why cryptocurrencies work the way that they do. Okay? You can put all kinds of draconian controls on it, but as long as the payment system is functioning, as long as the miners are still out there mining away, you can't stop the transactions from being processed. And so we are going to see some attempts to hammer down on mining. I don't know why governments are being so fucking stupid. This is the expansion they've been dreaming about for the last 2 decades, trying to figure out how the fuck are we going to exit fiat currencies. Well, Jesus Christ, people, here it is. And what are you doing? You're fighting it. Go fuck yourselves. This whole mimetic battle, it wouldn't work the way it does. It would work better if it were like 30, 40 years ago, when you could contain people's understanding to just what you wrote in articles and just what you showed them in CNN and MSNBC. But this thing doesn't work like that. Okay, not only do we have the internet, but these markets and these currencies run 24/7. Now there's some drawbacks to that, is because if you're not paying attention to a lot of it, if you've got your perspective narrowed down finely enough, you miss a lot of what's going on around you. And it's like this segregated witness business. I don't think there's any kind of coincidence here that now that there's been the introduction of segregated witness into Bitcoin, now and only now are governments getting serious about trying to regulate cryptocurrencies. And I don't think this is in response to some new wonder butt function that segregated witness brings to cryptocurrencies. I think this is due to the fact that segregated witness was the chink that they needed to introduce into mining to be able to make it a centralized venture that only banks and credit card companies can afford to get into or stay into. And this is the danger that's been looming this entire fucking time. And it's driven me nuts. listening to people that are supposedly in the know in cryptocurrencies completely ignore the shit. And more importantly, their responses to me on social media. These people fucking block me. They ignore me. They like, make sure that my shit doesn't come into their feed at all. You gotta wonder about that. If somebody is trying to block you just viewing other perspectives, what are they really trying to do? Are they trying to shield you from me? Am I a scammer? Am I trying to steal your money? No. I point out very basic things, very basic, if you thought about it for 2 seconds, it would occur to you, kind of shit about this migration to off-chain quote-unquote solutions, which aren't really solutions. And you fucking block me, that means that your entire concept, the entire thing that you're talking about is fucking corrupt. If you cannot stand the tiniest amount of criticism or scrutiny, you're fucking lying. If you're fucking lying, I don't want to do business with you. I'm trying to do business without liars. That's why I'm in cryptocurrencies. Because I don't have to trust you. Either the fucking transaction clears or it does not clear. And if it's happening off chain, I don't know if it'll ever fucking clear. I'm back to trust. And every time I point this out to people, the people that I'm pointing it out to oftentimes will ignore me. And either put me on downvote. And when I say ignore, I don't mean like they just like keep talking like I didn't make a good point, although some of them do that. I mean ignore as in like they block my shit and they delete my shit and censor my shit because they can't handle very basic scrutiny. And you have to ask yourself, if these people can't stand basic scrutiny, just basic question, just a little question, a very rational, very basic question. If they can't stand that, then what are they really trying to lead you into? Who is the one lying here? Who is the one dissembling here? It's certainly not me. And I mean, you got fucking hours and hours and hours of my shows to figure it out. You don't hear me shilling any fucking coin or telling you to invest in a specific ICO or any of that other bullshit. Because I want you fucking people to continue trading. I want you to be free to continue trading. And the more fuckery there is out there, the more call there will be for regulation to come into cryptocurrencies. But you got to understand that most of the situations that have developed in cryptocurrencies have not been any problems with coins. When there has been a problem with a coin, we've known about it within 24, 48 hours tops. I mean tops, 48 hours. If a problem goes on for 48 hours in cryptocurrencies and everybody doesn't know about it, fuck, you're not paying attention to your shit. There's a basic incentive. If all of your... pardon me. There's a basic incentive that if all of your liquid capital is tied up within a particular payment system and in association with a specific cryptocurrency, it is incumbent upon you to be paying attention to that shit. Every little fucking thing. Because if you don't, you're still back in the situation where you're trusting that the bank's going to be open tomorrow. You're trusting that the Federal Reserve note that you're holding in your pocket is still going to be worth something. If you're not paying attention to your Twitter or your Facebook or your Reddit or whatever means you have to monitor your community, you really probably shouldn't be in cryptocurrencies. Because in all honesty, you're probably just going to get burned. You'll end up with a coin that the dev decides he wants to cash out his pre-mine that nobody knew about and go to the Bahamas and live the rest of his days there. And you won't know about it. You'll come back to your Twitter about a week after the fact, after it's been delisted off of all of the exchanges, and you can't get back to that money. You know, I mean, I can't tell you how much in funds I've saved myself by actually listening to my Twitter. You know, I did miss out on, I did lose out on probably, I would say a solid 2/3 of my funds from Cryptsy, but that was because I trusted them. You know, and so, you know, me telling you this stuff, I'm speaking from experience, kids. I'm not just fucking bloviating about bullshit here. You know, you really cannot trust anybody, and because you can hold your currency yourself, you really shouldn't trust anybody. You know, these systems aren't being made to trust. These systems are being made to function. And as soon as they stop functioning, or as soon as their function starts looking a little dodgy, it's up to you to abandon ship. And if you don't, that's on you as well. Anyway, previously we were having some issues with regard to audio, and it might have just been Meshuggah. You know, I don't know. Maybe it was the wrong audio format or some shit. It happens occasionally that happens. I mean, you know, they make it into my list here as MP3s, and they're actually waves or OGGs or some shit like that. Anyway, I know for a fact the vast majority of this stuff is good, though. So we'll go ahead and throw it down. A little bit of Master of Puppets from Metallica here on Coin Metal. And that was Sixth with Vivid. Yeah, that's one of those bands that I discovered through Pandora, and much too late apparently. It seems by the time I finally found out about them, they were on their third or fourth release. But they did get together relatively recently, and they made this last one, what was it, Future in Whose Eyes, and altogether, I'm pretty impressed with the album. I really like their style. The only real problem I had with it was the amount of spoken word. I think there's like three songs on it that are these like spoken word vignettes that they do. And I mean, they're cool, and I don't even know that that's the right word for it, but they've done them on previous albums, and they're just like, you know, one or two of them, but this last time they put 3 on there, and I'm like, okay, now it's just filler, all right? You know, before it was just a unique little addition to the album, and now it's filler as far as I'm concerned, you know. But that's just me. It's my perspective on it. But otherwise, like I said, it's a solid album otherwise. Anywho, let's get back into articles. I got one here, and this one is on newsbtc.com. Swiss regulator FINMA cracks down on scam not-so-currency. And let's see if this is by Rick D. So I'm assuming yes, penis. And here we go. The Swiss Financial Market Supervisory Authority, FINMA, has recently taken action against the perpetrators of a crypto scam. The firms in question were distributing a fake cryptocurrency and acting without proper licensing. A dozen other possible fraud cases are under scrutiny from the watchdog too. In a statement today, FINMA announced that they have taken action against the Quid Pro Quo Association. The companies involved had been providing, quote, e-coins for over a year, and it's estimated that they had amassed more than $4.2 million from many users. Of these funds, FINMA has said they were able to recover around half. They commented on the legality of the firms. This activity is similar to the deposit-taking business of a bank and is illegal unless the company in question holds the relevant financial market license. Fuck you. In addition, it was found that the operation had failed to back the e-coins with tangible assets, something that the companies forming the quid pro quo associated had promised to do. This led FINMA to seize some CHF 2 million and launched bankruptcy proceedings against the firms. Alarm bells should have been ringing earlier for those who were duped by quid pro quo. After investigation, FINMA reported that eCoin was not like, quote, real cryptocurrencies. Apparently, it was completely centralized on local servers, rather than being stored on a distributed blockchain ledger. Unfortunately, hyped markets don't always produce the most rational investor behavior, and as such, many were duped by the scam. For FINMA, the crackdown against quid pro quo is the first of a total of 12 similar investigations in Switzerland. The country, and in particular the small municipality of Zug, has become something of a hotbed for cryptocurrencies, particularly after the recent crackdown on secretive practices taking place in the nation's hugely successful banking sector. Drawn by favorable tax rates, many legitimate startups now call Switzerland home. However, with the explosive growth of the industry in recent years, many scams and infringements of law, purposeful and accidental, have gone unnoticed. Roger Darren, the community manager at Bitcoin Association Switzerland, spoke to a local publication. I am very glad these Ponzi schemes and outright scams have shown up on FINMA's radar. There is a lot happening in Switzerland's crypto asset space, and just as the street parade attracts pickpockets every year, scammers use the excellent trick to excitement to trick unsuspecting newcomers. Around the world, regulators and traditional banks are beginning to voice concerns about the use of cryptocurrencies. With the SEC in the U.S. regulating ICOs as securities, China outright banning them altogether, and now Switzerland policing scams in their own crypto industry, it appears that the Wild West days of cryptocurrency may finally be drawing to a close. Whilst many Bitcoin Puritans loathe the idea of government regulation, many others admit that it is something vital for the wider adoption necessary to drive the space's market cap skyward in the future. A more stable police climate is crucial before more traditional investors are willing to enter the market. I don't give a fuck. I do not give a fuck. And if you do give a fuck, there's something fucking wrong with you. We are reinventing the fucking global economy here. Who gives a fuck if the old dinosaurs that have been fucking you your entire fucking life invest in this space? Do you think they're going to stop trying to fuck you just because there's a goddamn blockchain involved? Hell no. I mean, really, if you went down to the funding of this particular cryptocurrency bullshit, this fucker that FINMA just busted, I bet you anything you will find money from Goldman Sachs, fucking Morgan Stanley, fucking any of these guys. They are in it. And to just assume that the money for the servers and shit it just came out of nowhere, man. We did an ICO and we bought a bunch of servers and we hosted our own coin and we lied to people and we told it that it was decentralized and all this other bullshit. You know what? If you're not mining it, if you can't mine it, you should not invest in it. I covered this so long ago, I've forgotten that it's like a marker of any scam coin. And as a matter of fact, it's really funny because before. I was saying that shit before the blockchain boom. You know, when everybody was talking, oh, blockchain. And they like conveniently like stopped talking about Bitcoin and proof of work coins and all that other stuff. They were just talking about quote unquote blockchains. Yeah, okay. They were talking about blockchains that you would not be able to mine. And they've been working their way through Bitcoin. And I feel that the whole segregated witness lightning network business, I feel that is an effort to centralize Bitcoin. That in the longer term, what they're looking at is miners won't be processing transactions. They'll just be verifying blocks. And they'll slowly winnow down that space to where there's nothing left. It's like this thing in China. I mean, really, do you think this thing in China is at all about trying to clean up the space? No. It's a strike at the mining. Duh. Where's the majority of the mining happening right now? China. How long do you think it's going to be before the mining isn't happening in China anymore? Or at least not as much of it has been. You see, and here in the U.S., they've been preparing for it. Okay? And you're going to see, I predict within the next 2 months, and they've been really quiet about it because they haven't been able to get a majority of their transaction. I mean, sorry, talking about segregated witness lightning network business. They haven't been able to get a lot of their transactions through. I mean, they've been getting some transactions into the blocks, and I would suspect the percentage of transactions that are segregated witness that are occupying the blocks of the Bitcoin network are probably increasing. But they've been very quiet, which tells me that there's probably not a majority of the transactions. And see, they're being intentionally quiet as they slowly bump off people that are not doing the segregated witness business. That's what this fucking China thing is all about. Is you had all these Chinese miners or all the mining farms there, and they're saying, no, we're not going to do the segregated witness business. And so the fuckers that want segregated witness are like, fine, call it the PBOC. Hey, yeah, you know, these miners that don't want to get on the segregated witness train, yeah, we're going to go ahead and we want you to go ahead and tighten the noose on them. You know, get rid of them, and then the segregated witness will go through and we'll be able to contaminate the network with our bullshit, and then we'll necessitate the Lightning Network. And then people won't be able to do transactions on the Bitcoin network without using the Lightning Network. And then we'll have control. Because the only people that will be doing Lightning Networks will be credit card companies and banks and all that other bullshit. And if you haven't figured this out by now, you really aren't reading. I mean, like you're like listening to what your friend says about this tech. You need to be fucking reading that shit. Because if you do, you will find out. There are a lot of big question marks. You know, they talk about users. Well, they don't... Fuck, anybody could be a user. Goldman Sachs is a user. I'm a user. Jamie Dimon's a user. So now, you know, when you put it in that kind of context, you know, Bank of America is a user. Visa's a user. Now let's talk a little bit further. Let's talk about your community. Well, gosh, if Bank of America is a user and Goldman Sachs is a user, well, Jamie Dimon's a user. Fuck, that's a community. So now the community, now that we got that, which BIP was that? I can't remember, but I could swear that there was a BIP that made it to where the protocol could be changed by the users and the community and a majority of them, not on mining consensus, because you can't spoof that, and you can't just overpopulate the pool with Goldman Sachs executives in mining. No. You actually need miners to do protocol changes at the mining level. But no, if we put protocol changes at the user level, well, fuck. Hey, the Visa can afford to be more users than you will ever be able to muster. You can assemble the biggest fucking community you want online. Visa can be a bigger fucking community than you. And more importantly, they can get together with their friends at Comcast and CenturyLink and other internet service providers and just make it to where your votes don't count anymore. Because your votes aren't making it to the network, and your voice can be officially censored. Because you gave up. Yeah, I'm talking to you. All y'all that got on this fucking segregated witness train, you know what they really tempted you with? Oh yeah, you'll be able to be a Lightning Network node, and you'll be able to get those transaction fees. Yeah, you're gonna get thousands of transaction fees per second, not just 7 transactions per second, thousands of transactions per second. Can you imagine what you would do with all those transaction fees? And you bought that shit. Oh yeah, I'm gonna save some money for my next paycheck, and I'm gonna buy the hardware, and I'm gonna be a Lightning node. Yeah. You're full of shit. If you weren't gonna fucking mine, if you weren't willing to say, you know what, fuck it, I don't need to look at Facebook on my desktop. No. I am going to convert it to a fucking Ethereum miner. And I'm going to mine nothing but, I'm going to do nothing with this machine but mine Ethereum until I can afford to buy a better machine to mine with. And then I'm going to mine altcoins with that until I can afford to buy Bitcoin mining hardware. And then I'm going to get into that game. No, you gave up. You let the vagina between your ears win out. And here we are. You bought into that whole thing that you're not the power. You are the power. You are why all of this shit works. You are the networks. You are the devs. You are the PR people. You're the people that write the web pages. You're the shillers on the fucking Twitter, on the Facebook. You make this shit work. Not some government, not Goldman Sachs, not some you! You also make fiat currencies work, and this is something you need to understand. The only thing that separates fiat currencies and Bitcoin is the amount of users. That's it. You are it. When you decide to take the responsibility seriously, we will stop having these problems. But you gotta really take a look inside yourself when you're reading these fucking articles and say, you know what? I can change this. I can do something different. I can do something better. Because as long as you listen to these fucking people telling you top down what's going on, you are going to remain in the corner. They are going to be able to paint you back into that fucking corner again, just like they're trying to do in Bitcoin, just like they're trying to do in cryptocurrencies. The only difference is you. Keep it in mind. Let's go ahead and throw back down into some music. And, I'm in a mood. I'm feeling it. I think we need some Slayer. War Ensemble here on Coin Metal. And that was Anthrax with For All Kings. And that says disc 1 on it. I don't know. I don't think I saw a disc 2 in there. Maybe there was one and I I didn't bother ferreting around for it or something. Anyway, I don't know. I have many suspicions concerning this whole segregated witness business. I'm going to investigate further into it, but see, I don't think that whole thing is over. See, they just did this trip thing, or a lot of them went to a lot of the people that were on the segregated witness bandwagon went to, I guess it was Europe. I don't know where in Europe, but they had some sort of confab there breaking Bitcoin. And you know, when you break something, I think that you make something that was whole, and then you break it into other things or smaller things, or not what it originally was. And I think that's their plan, really, is in the longer term to just take you out of Bitcoin. I've felt that that's their plan all along. But the big problem with that is like with that Swiss thing. I'm partially in agreement with nailing them and whatnot, but the question is this: were they actually operating in a quote-unquote fraudulent behavior? Now, fraudulent has a lot of different meanings, okay? What I'm talking about when I say fraudulent is, were they taking money and not giving what they said that they were giving? Now, the thing with them being centralized, well, now is that they maybe the community people, or the people that were most directly connected with the community, were the only miners on the network. If that's the case, that's just a matter of it just happened that way. Or maybe there weren't a lot of miners on that network. I don't know. I wasn't mining eCoin and whatever. And I'm sure that's probably not even the name of the cryptocurrency. They just put in eCoin to describe that that's what it was, supposedly was a cryptocurrency. Anyway, point being that if they were not fulfilling on what they said they were doing, you know, if it was in fact just big old fucking server and they're just mining it away, you know, they're mining all the coins, they're lying to everybody, the public isn't really able to mine the coin, that's a scam coin. Okay? That is a quote unquote fraud. Now, however, as I said before, you know, maybe they were fulfilling on everything and the Swiss government just decided that because they wouldn't get a license that they were operating fraudulently. That's a whole different story. See, I don't think that the Swiss government should be able to do that. I think that they should just fuck off if that is what they're doing. You know, where they're going around to altcoins that happen to be housed there and saying, "Oh, you're not paying us our due, so we're gonna fuck you up." Fuck that bullshit. You know, I've said this before, and I will say it again, I'm sure, is that we are in basically a war, and I'm not the only one that has said this, is that you have been given the capability to generate your own currencies to transact amongst yourselves and amongst other peoples with on a global scale. Now, there are people out there that already do this, and they fuck you at every turn, but they still do what they say they're going to do. The money goes from you to whoever it is that you intend to most of the time. And sometimes, though, those systems fail you and somebody gets a hold of your credit card number and runs up a tab in Vegas or some shit like that, and you're completely fucked by it. But that's okay. You know, we got to tolerate that bullshit because in the current system, they can monitor everything. And that's what's really necessary, is that All of your fucking transactions are monitored. Absolutely every single transaction that you do, we must monitor it. Now what you have to ask yourself is, well gosh, why do you have to monitor it? You know, are you monitoring Goldman Sachs that closely? Fuck, are you even monitoring the people that are operating the SWIFT network that closely? No. But you're going to throw the ban hammer at me because I wouldn't pay you your fucking... Fuck you. The systems you're maintaining are fraudulent. The laws, the regulations that you draw up are specifically designed to defraud the public. And really, if you doubt this, please, I've read the legislation. I posted my live readings of the legislation on my YouTube channel. Please, feel free to listen to it. I bothered to read it. Take the time to listen to it. If you do, you will hear the ways that they intend to fuck you. I mean... You know, just to dial it back over to the Equifax. This is the most recent one, okay? 1 out of 3 Americans' private information, where they live, their phone number, their email address, probably their employment history, their credit record. All of these things was breached recently. And is probably being sold right now on the fucking darknet. But you're supposed to trust these assholes. They have several little government ribbons on them that say, these guys are cool, these guys are good, it's okay, you can trust these guys. These guys paid for their licenses. They stayed pretty consistent with their reporting requirements. They're more or less in compliance with us. You know, never mind that the people that are monitoring them, for the most part, don't really pay attention to the big stuff. But when they do, it's only because they can take Goldman Sachs to court and get a settlement out of them for hundreds of millions of dollars. But shit, even back to Equifax really quick though. They had that problem in July. In July. You're only hearing about it now. What if you're a fucking investor? You had to wait 40 fucking days before you were notified that there was something wrong. Well, you just lost your ass. If you weren't watching your portfolio and they sold out from under you, and many of the executives did exactly that, you just lost your ass. And it was with federal approval, because I can guarantee you that Equifax is regulated by the same style regulation that they are trying to impose on cryptocurrencies. But they weren't given the scrutiny because, you know, they can fucking underhand some money to some federal regulator, some state regulator, pay a little hush money, everything goes away. They get their little delays. And really, what I'm talking about with the delays, I read in both that Washington shit and one other thing where they're given 30 days. They have to I guess report every 30 days, right? Well, what if they don't report? They're given another 30 days. So Equifax, they probably didn't report for 10 days. The SEC got up their ass to report. They finally reported after 10 days, explained away the differential, and by then they'd been shorting the stock for 10 fucking days after they already sold their shares. And everybody's starting to freak out because they're watching the volume go out of it, so they're selling, they're panic selling. And Equifax is shorting the stock, probably at a very high rate, you know, high frequency trading and all. And In the meantime, they're still within their fucking legal reporting requirements because they make their report. We're completely fucked. You know? Now there's a 30-day delay and the 10-day delay. 40 days, your portfolio has been tanking. No notification, nothing wrong. Everything is fine here. You know, that gif of the dog sitting there sipping his tea while the room around him is on fire and he's saying, "This is fine." Yeah, that's exactly what was going on. This is fine. I'm going to drink my tea while the building burns down around me. That's what was happening to your fucking portfolio. It's like you had some manager on it, and he, of course, it's part of some big ass fund, so he doesn't notice the 2% drop, or he doesn't really take it too seriously. But you've lost thousands of dollars because he had you really heavy into Equifax. It's like, oh man. But they want to bring that type of oversight and regulation to cryptocurrency markets. Can you believe that shit? We know down to the last block when something starts fucking up in cryptocurrencies. We know. It happens, we know. We see the glitch on the blockchain. We see the tank on the market. And we know. We start checking. Hey, is everything okay there? Everything okay there? We don't go to the fucking SEC and say, "Hey, is everything okay with these guys? Are they all good on their compliance?" You know, for all the SEC knows, they're fucking 15 days into a major sell-off, but you don't know that because the company isn't required to report, but every 30 days, unless there's some sort of preponderance of concern being expressed by the market. You know? And what's the SEC going to do? They're going to call up the company. Hey, is everything fine over there? Oh yeah, it's perfect. You know, we're just having a minor issue, but you know, we're fine. We're on track to be reporting in 15 days. So yeah, we're fine. Then they call you back and oh yeah, those guys say they're fine. You know, they're just having a minor glitch and you know, but according to them, they're on track to be able to report in 15 days. So, you know, everything's cool. You know, you don't have to dump. All right, cool. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. You know, 15 days later, you know, 70% of the fucking value drops out of the shares. And what the fuck? Oh, my God. Ah! And the whole time they've been telling you, oh, yeah, it's fine. Everything's cool. You know, in the meantime, the executive staff has already evacuated their portfolio of the stock. And they've gone over to shorting the stock on the same exchanges. But you don't know that. You know, you're blissfully unaware of it. And like I said, they want to bring that shit to cryptocurrencies. It's specifically written in there, man. That fucking Washington turd that I read. You know, you can find that one on my YouTube channel as well. It's specifically in there. The 30-day reporting requirement. That's a big fucking window to be doing sell orders without the public's knowledge, without any concern being expressed about. Oh yeah, everything's fine. Everything's fine. You know, you can get away with those kind of delays on markets that operate 8 hours a day, but our markets don't operate 8 hours a day. Our markets operate 24/7. We know. We see the glitch. We do the checkup. We don't need you to do that for us. We can look at the blockchain. And if you can't look at the blockchain, it's a fucking scam coin. I think I need to do that again. I think I need to do an episode where I cover the basics of what constitutes a scam coin, because apparently you guys like don't pay attention, or like some people aren't paying attention to their portfolio. They're not paying attention to their Twitter feed. They're not paying attention to their Facebook, and they're getting shot in the ass. Either that, or the Swiss are hammering down on people that do not want to comply with this segregated witness migration and this migration into an off-chain future. But I've said this before too, that no matter what happens in these markets that these people can see, there are markets developing right now that they can't see, in currencies that are not transacted on public exchanges. And they're being honored between individuals that you do not know are involved in those currencies. And that's going to continue. No matter what you say in the media, no, you're hammering down on this, you're clenching down. Fuck you. You know what? Fuck you. You know, there are people out there right now that are messing with Commodore 64s and making them do shit that they were never designed to do before. That they were never intended to do. And, you know, when the designers built them, they were like, it was never even on their radar. And you can find it all on YouTube. Like, if you look that up, Commodore 64 hacking or tweaking or some shit like that, you will find that people have been doing a lot of weird shit with Commodore 64s. But what it tells you is this, is once the technology is available, people will use it. It doesn't matter how old it gets. It doesn't matter how obsolete it is. People will repurpose it. You know, I found a YouTube video one time. Some kid built his own tank in like Azerbaijan or some place where there's a lot of fucking hardware or whatever. Anyway, the controller for it, or the control system for it, was a Nintendo. And he had a Nintendo controller and fucking monitors and shit that he was able to see the outside world with. And can you believe this? It's something some fucking kid built. Okay? And there's shit like that going on all the fucking time. You're not going to change this. You're not going to make it go away. You're not going to constrain it. You're not going to limit it. Or you can limit it, but the basic, the difference between somebody who uses it and somebody who doesn't use it will just be desire. They'll have a desire. They'll Google that shit. They might not even use Google. They might use a search engine that isn't controlled by the fucking government, or isn't an arm of the government, as Google has pretty much become. And they'll find it. They'll find that cryptocurrency you don't know anything about. And then they'll use it. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down into some music here. And I've got the End of Days playing by Ministry, but I don't know, that's a little too somber. It's time to kick it up a notch. I'm feeling the need, a little bit of body count here, Bloodlust, here on Coin Metal.
Since the beginning of time, humans have killed each other.
And that was Static X with Machine. Yeah, it seems like I was doing a lot of songs there, but it's only because they're really short. And I needed a little bit of time to smoke. It happens, you know? Especially here in Oregon, because, you know, that kind of thing is legal here now. Although, I will say that they are doing a lot to fuck it up here. You know, and get all kinds of problems with it. Anyway, I wanted to touch on a few things. Seeing something in what was this? Is this mining? Digital systems says blah blah blah. Sorry, I was reviewing this thing really quick. I just wanted to make sure that it was actually mining cryptocurrencies rather than mining gold. I don't know. Anyway, this This is a little bit old. This was, well, not really old. It's September 19th, 2017. I guess that's kind of old. You know, thinking about things in terms of cryptocurrencies, it's kind of easy to fall into the differential of the time differential. You know, like we're on a different time scale than a lot of other things are, and I think it's because, you know, there's two things going on. Number one, there's people pushing the technology in certain ways that they want it to go in. Then the other side of that is that there is so much organic interest coming into cryptocurrencies. And see, one of the things that I thought initially about altcoins was that I felt like they were diluting the intent of Bitcoin, and that they were making it easier for people to defeat Bitcoin because of the proliferation of altcoins. It took all the energy that would have gone into developing things for Bitcoin and put it into altcoin projects. And while I see that as there is some merit to that perspective, however, I will say this, that the presence of those altcoins has actually, I believe, slowed the progression of tyranny in Bitcoin. And I think ultimately the ability to have altcoins, the ability to make altcoins, will be the way out of this. We aren't quite to the point where banks have seized everything and have kicked everybody legitimate out, but we're getting there. We're getting there very quickly, it seems. See, I think that once they get enough Bitcoin out of circulation and into their wallets, we're going to see some major draconian shit going on. I think that it's really telling. This last dip, Goldman Sachs was all over it. Although I don't know that they were actually buying Bitcoin per se. I don't know. I'd have to investigate further into what their actual investment was in. But they were throwing money into this space, and they were doing it at the lowest point that they could possibly get into. And I've been thinking about that, the exchange rate that's honored for certain individuals. I think that there's this trust that we're all getting the same exchange rate. My experience at the Bitcoin ATM recently kind of taught me that that's not really the case. Like, I'll give you an example. See, the exchange rate they gave me was like 34.67 for, you know, when I cashed out my Bitcoin, right? By the time I actually got the money in my hand, the exchange rate, according to the Bitcoin ATM that I was looking at, was $3,919. Now, am I to believe that Bitcoin increased in price 35% from the point where I initially started the transaction until it actually cleared like an hour or so later? Am I to believe that the network was just that sluggish about getting my transaction taken care of that you know, I just lost out on 30%? Is that the case? I don't think that's the case. I think I was actually fucked. I think that they held on to the transaction until they could get rid of it low, or high rather, and make the fucking money on it, and then give me the differential. You know, so they made 30% on the money that the Bitcoin that I sold. You know, they had it in there. They put it straight through to their fucking exchange wallet, and they sat there and they waited for fucking Bitcoin to climb and climb and climb and climb. And of course, there was probably some sort of delay between when Bitcoin was a certain price and when it was actually displayed on the Bitcoin ATM screen. I've been thinking about this a lot, and I bet you there's a lot of fucking fraud going on in there. And of course, it's probably completely legitimized by the current legacy system, and hence there's a little clue to me in the whole Lightning Network thing, and I talked about this before. There's a clue as to who is really funding all this business, and it's inherent in the examples that they give for Lightning Network. For one, and I've talked about this ad nauseum on the show, my apologies if you've heard this before. Some of you probably haven't, though, so I'm going to give it to you fresh. That, and now I'm starting to forget it. Oh, God damn it. Lightning Networks. Okay, yeah, the metrics that they give on the Lightning Network white paper, they're all related to Visa. I'll give you an example. The transaction throughput that they use. They talk about 40,000 transactions per second. Well, if you read the white paper, it tells you specifically that is the Visa network's peak transaction throughput. That's the most they've ever put through, supposedly. Okay, is 40,000 transactions per second. So that's clue number one. The bigger clue is the number of blocks that they give as the example for having the payment channel open for. They talk about 1,000 blocks, and I did the math on that, and it averages out to be 8 days. Now, it says that as an upper limit, implying the possibility that it can go under that. Okay, but now consider this. Currently, banks have 3 to 5 business days to finalize the transaction. With Lightning Networks, they would have 8 days before the transaction has to be 100% verified. That they could dilly-dally and fuck around with that money that entire time. And I know that my perspective is painting a lot of what I'm delivering here. But, what else do I have to judge by? Really. The information tells me this. I don't just read it and say the plain text is all there is to it, because there really is more. Any kind of language that isn't specific, okay? And I've talked about this with like the mimetic drift concerning transaction fees. Originally, those weren't transaction fees. Originally, those were minor donations. And then they became minor tips. And then there was something else, like a minor fee. And then it became a transaction fee. When it became a minor fee, it stopped being an optional thing. See, before, when it was a minor donation, completely fucking optional. A tip is a donation in recognition of services rendered. But it is, at its base, purely optional. If the service that you received sucked, if that pizza wasn't, fresh, maybe it was really, really cold, maybe you lowered the tip, if not terminated it entirely. I actually had that happen a couple times while I was delivering pizzas. where I would deliver the pizza and not get a tip for having delivered. This was a reflection of the services rendered. It took too long for me to get there. The pie wasn't what they thought it was going to be or not what they ordered, so on and so forth. Okay, but tip was optional. Okay, then when it became a minor fee, this is not only a recognition of the act that the miner is performing for you, but it's also implicitly mandatory because it is a fee. It is not a donation. It is not a tip. It is a fee. But it did still retain the specificity of who was receiving the tip. Miners, or the donation, or the fee. Miners were receiving this fee. Now, when it changed from miner fee to transaction fee, okay. This is a recognition that you're performing the process of processing the transaction. Okay, but this is not optional. This is mandatory because it is a fee. It is not a donation. It is not a tip. It is a fee. In addition to this mandatory adjustment, there was the subtraction of minor from it. So now it is not implicit in the name exactly where the money is going to. Fuck, it could be going to a banker, it could go to a stockbroker, it could go to a credit card company, it could go to all of the people that I got into cryptocurrencies to avoid enriching. It is not a donation. It is not a tip. It is mandatory. And it is to somebody now. It's not to minors. It's to somebody. The battle now is to take it away from minors, because now you still have the reflection. You still have a level of participation in the whole thing. But see, here's the funny part about it, and I think that it is really funny, is that the bankers are so fucking desperate. They are so fucking desperate right fucking now that they are that fast to try and seize on this shit. Okay, the migration has taken close to a decade to go from a donation to a fee paid to somebody, not specifically minors. That migration has taken about a decade, but this whole segregated witness thing was supposed to be a slam dunk, and it has not been. It's actually consisted of, I want to say, 5 BIPs. That's the 5 or 6 BIPs have led up to this migration, and they still have not managed full adoption. As a matter of fact, I don't think they've achieved 51% adoption yet. But anyway, point being that the battle now is to kick you back out of the payment systems. But the pace of it, okay, the pace of this migration has been getting quick. It's been getting very, very quick, especially in the last 6 months. And this communicates to me a level of desperation. Okay, because if you look at Bitcoin, it was never meant to get $4,000 of fucking Bitcoin before they managed to transition us over into this shit. It was not meant to. Okay, Ethereum was not meant to be. Okay, Bitcoin Cash was not meant to be. But it's because we still retain the capability to proliferate our own currencies, our own new currencies, that this ball is still in our court. And you have to do what you can to retain that. If not, we're going back to trust models only. It will not be optional. It will be mandatory. But, of course, there will be a proliferation in the darkness of currencies that they can't do this to, and of assets, of digital assets they can't do this to. And I expect that will continue on. What I don't want, though, is for that to be deemed a criminal behavior. We're involved in all of these projects voluntarily. That means that you can stop doing it at some point, or be pressured into stop doing it, or something to that effect. But the question is, will you stop doing it? I don't really have any intention to stop doing anything in cryptocurrencies. I expect to actually expand what I am doing in cryptocurrencies. And I hope that there are others just like me out there that are wanting to dedicate some hashing power to some coins, and are getting ready to do exactly that. If all of my shit wasn't tied up in one computer, that's exactly what I would be doing. If I was just if I was doing some 9-to-5 job where I wasn't sitting here in front of this computer at least 6-7 hours a day of my own volition, then I would probably be dedicating my video card to nothing but mining. But unfortunately I need the CPU cycles for my own uses. I'm not quite to the point where I can afford the hardware, but once I do, I intend to be mining. And I know I just rained down shit on people that have only the box, but I'm talking about people that actually have an additional source of income, that aren't doing a show that they edit on this same machine. A machine that's pretty much just sitting there not doing a whole lot except for you checking your email and your Facebook status. And there are a lot of you out there that you're not really all that involved online, but you're involved enough to know about cryptocurrencies. And you've got enough other things going on in your life that you're not actually sitting in front of that computer for the majority of that time. And again, you're not broadcasting a live show. You can afford to take that old desktop and dedicate it to some, because that's what they're doing in Venezuela. I loved that part. I read an article last week, or it might have been the week before last. I don't know. Kind of all blurs together after a while. But point being that in Venezuela, they're having a thing where they have been mining Bitcoin. And the government there has been kind of back and forth on it. And I'm sure if you have enough money that you're actually able to pay off the cop not to bust you, that they're not busting you. But what's going on is the cops bust people, right? And so they bust them and they take away their hardware, and then they take the hardware home and they point it at a mining pool and they mine themselves. And this is going to continue. Well, as a matter of fact, Andreas Antonopoulos predicted this kind of thing, because it happens everywhere else with regard to paper money. He was talking about, and I think he was in Bolivia or some fucking South or Central American country, where he was talking about there being money exchangers on damn near every corner. Well, if the cash market is like that there, what do you think is going to happen in cryptocurrencies? If these people are at all computer savvy, they're involved in cryptocurrencies, because this expands their scope. It's not just the people that pass by them on the corner. No. This is 6 billion people out there, potentially, or at least I would say probably at least 1 billion people that are online, and you know, a few 100 million of them that know anything about cryptocurrencies. But that's 100 million or so more than live next door to them, and that's bigger than a lot of countries. 100 million people. Shit. You could have your own country. It's not necessarily a de facto country in the same way that countries are now, but that's because it's not limited by geography. It's just limited by signal and access. And as torrents have shown us, if there's a desire, there's going to be a source, there's going to be a facilitator, there's going to be users. That is the 21st century for us, and really we need to face up to these facts. You know, I've noticed that Sony isn't cranking out a new fucking codec for their DVD every other month now. I think they learned after the last two debacles where they made some sort of modification in their codec to try and foil people that were copying their discs, and before their fucking discs were off the manufacturing floor and onto a shelf, there was a crack for the fucking codec modification. You cannot fucking do the 21st century like you've done the 20th century. I'm sorry, you can't do it. You can imagine that you can. You can threaten like you can. But it's not possible anymore. It's just not possible anymore. And the sooner we quit fucking wasting money and manpower and attention to try and make it fit back into that box, the better off we're all going to be. Anyway, I want to throw down some music really quick. I want to throw in some prong here, because it is Mr. Tommy Victor's birthday. Happy birthday, Mr. Victor. Busy man as you are. Let's go ahead and throw it down off of Ruining Lives Retreat here on Coin Metal. And that was I Am Colossus by Meshuggah. I gotta say, that's one album I think a lot of people just kind of skip over, is Colossus. I don't know why. It's a very good album. It's very well put together, and honestly, I enjoy the latest Meshuggah, The Violent Sleep of Reason. However, there were some odd bits on it that I felt just needed some more refinement. You know, they needed to spend just a little more time on them. But that's just my feeling. You know, I felt like they were, 60%ers. You know, they were 60% there and they slapped them good. You know, but I don't know. I could be wrong. Anyway, I did want to cover at least one more article, but we are kind of narrowing down towards the end of it. I think I've got enough time for... Well, I don't know. It's kind of long. I think I've got enough time for this one. Let's go ahead and do it. This is If I'd Known What We Were Starting, and this was published on September 20th, and this is by Ray Dillinger. In November of 2008, I did a code review and security audit for the blockchain portion of the Bitcoin source code. The late Hal Finney did code review and audit for the scripting language, and we both looked at the accounting code. Satoshi Nakamoto, the pseudonymous architect and author of the code, alternated between answering questions and asking them. Much later, I released the archive of code that I had reviewed. However, it's not the complete sources for that version, and it looks like Hal never released his. There was a specific reason why I was interested in the blockchain code. In May of 1995, as a research paper in a graduate networking class, I created what I believed is the first digital cash protocol ever to use blockchains in any form, though it used them in a way very different than Bitcoin and its descendants. In that protocol, each coin had its own little chain that grew by one link each time it was transferred from one owner to the next. Seeing the idea come around again in a very different form was fascinating for me. For whatever it's worth, I found Satoshi's cryptographic code tight, and I had two main critiques of the protocol. First, for as long as the network was too small, there was a likelihood that an early attack by some troll with a powerful network could take over the chain and roll it back. So it was necessary to spend significant computing power making sure the chain was secured for as long as such an attack was possible. Satoshi hashed like crazy at the beginning, and that didn't happen. Second, if the network grew too big, I worried about scale and bandwidth. That one I'm actually still worried about. But I reviewed Bitcoin the same way any professor had reviewed my academic paper, without any genuine expectations that it was going to mean anything to any large number of people, but in hopes that it would incrementally advance knowledge and awareness of the issues involved. A few weeks later, Satoshi, with Hal's help, actually launched it, and they set about recruiting more people for long-term support of the project, and I stepped aside. There were several reasons why. The main one, though, is that I've been interested in digital cash protocols since before 1995. I was more aware than anyone, except maybe Satoshi and Hal, that literally scores of digital cash systems had attempted to launch before then, and the road to progress, as Chuck Yeager observed, is marked by great smoking holes in the ground. The fact that you have probably never heard of any of those scores of launches should tell you how successful they were. I saw no reason to expect a non-zero valuation. In fact, if you go searching in the news archives for those early launches now, you'll probably only find about 20 of them. There'll be those like eGold that wound up in criminal court and thus in the news, and those whose failures brought about or resulted from the end of a business, such as DigiCash and the Mark Twain Bank. Most of the people involved in early digital cash systems who had done outright criminal things and went to jail had done them by abusing their position of being trusted. In security contexts, and especially in cryptography, trusted is an epithet. In fact, it's almost an obscenity. Trusted means something or someone has the power to break your security by acting in bad faith. Every trusted role is by definition a weakness in security. You can see why security professionals are aghast when people talk about trusted computing modules becoming a standard part of computers. Good security means trying to limit the damage a trusted role can do, even if you can't completely eliminate the trusted role. And up until that point, limiting the damage had been the best that any digital cash system had been able to do. But Satoshi had developed, as far as I'm aware, the first digital cash system with no trusted role at all, and thus no way to abuse a trusted position. As we've reviewed earlier, that's not entirely true now, but oh well. Anyway, continuing. And the trustless nature of Bitcoin was the main thing that convinced me Satoshi wasn't scamming. He built a highway with no toll bridge. People could use Bitcoin without creating any obligation to pay him anything ever. He wasn't selling coins. He was giving them away for solving hashes. He reserved nothing for himself. He wasn't trying to line his own pockets at the expense of others. In fact, I don't think I've ever encountered someone so completely uninterested in personal wealth. You know the old saw about being able to get a lot done if you don't care who gets the credit? Satoshi doesn't want the credit. 2 years later, he walked away and left the pseudonym behind. And as hard as this may be to believe, it looks like he doesn't even want to be paid for it. As far as we can tell, he mined approximately 1 million bitcoins and has never sold a single one of them. The first anonymous multi-billionaire is being absolutely hardcore about demonstrating to the world that he is not ripping anybody off. He's not even using his privileged early miner position for a personal gain. Just stop and think about that for a moment before you go on. Once Bitcoin became successful, there were copycats. More than 3,000 short-lived cryptocurrencies using the same protocol have been launched. At this date, most are no longer existent or extant. For a while, I tried to keep track of them as they passed, and I tried to record at least a few words about how and why each failed. But I couldn't keep up, and besides, it was too depressing. The standard of behavior that installs no toll booths and no trusted roles, leaving the creator with the same opportunity to mine coins as anyone else, is seldom seen among altcoin creators. The standard of behavior set by Satoshi, not even taking any personal wealth from his creation, has not appeared again as far as I know. Sadly, many of the people who launched these alternatives didn't know what they were doing. More sadly, most of them do know what they're doing, and at least 3/4 know that what they're doing is ripping people off. They strive to do it as well as they possibly can, usually by means I can't really distinguish from blatant stock price manipulation and insider trading. They have created code with trusted roles intended specifically to make the kind of toll bridges that Satoshi convinced me he wasn't a scammer by leaving out. They've even taken to selling all the coins, just like eGold or a bunch of other digital cash launches from previous decades that wound up with people going to jail, except now they're calling them ICOs. New language, same game. And there's way more to this article, but unfortunately we have run out of time. This is on LinkedIn, and let me find the title of it. If I'd known what we were starting, and as a matter of fact, I found this on my Twitter feed, so I can definitely retweet that. Anyway, I want to go ahead and close it out. We are going to do a short, brief last dance, but we will be back again on Friday. So until then, I want y'all to trade safe, do your homework, because things are kind of shifty out there. And definitely watch out for your own bunghole, because there's fewer and fewer people out there to do it for you. And it's with that I'll leave you with Slayer, in the name of God, here on Coin Metal. Thanks very much for listening. I really appreciate the support. And I will have this up on my YouTube channel either tonight or tomorrow. Thank you again for listening, and y'all have an excellent evening.